Hey, everybody, it's me, Queenie. Thank you so much for joining me for today's reading of the Self Love Lessons. 7 lessons every woman must learn about herself and the power of womanhood. I am your host, Queenie Brown, certified master spiritual life coach, digital business strategist, and women's empowerment author of the Self Love Lessons and also of the Mother Daughter Journal. And it is a faith based mother's mentorship tool designed to build and heal the mother daughter bond. If you are a mom and you have daughters, go to www.themotherdaughterjournal.com to learn more. It's going to bless you, I promise. Um, Kind of melancholy today. I lost a dear friend. This morning, I received some news that my coach and dear mentor, Dr. Fire, passed away and transitioned. And I'm really just reminiscing and just thinking about how important life is and how we must tell those that we love them. And I've got to do a better job of that. So I'm reminding you to do the same. And so, as we go forth, there's so many messages and lessons that she taught me that are in this book. And so I'm just incredibly grateful to her for her life and her contribution to the world and the impact that she's made. And just what a tragic loss. Um, so today we're talking more deeply about understanding the law of the harvest. And I wanted to just share something with you that we talked about last week. And that is, in every tree, God hid a forest. In every fish, God hid a school. In every cow, God hid a herd. In every bird, God hid a flock. And on the inside of you, God hid a dream. And so I want us to begin to start to think about our dream as if it were a seed. The thing that you've been put here to accomplish, the gifts that you've been given, the talents, abilities, gifts, and skills that you walk around with every day were put there on the inside of you to manifest something major in God's eyes. Doesn't have to be major in man's eyes, but God intends for you to bring forth and manifest whatever that harvest is that He hid on the inside of you. And in order to do that, we've got to learn how to manifest that. So we got to start looking at it in terms of being a seed that will go into the ground, will develop roots, will develop shoots, then will develop fruit, right? So in order to manifest, though, we've got to change our beliefs about ourselves and we've got to learn how a belief is formed. And we're going to go into more detail on that in a couple of days. But today we're going to pick up on page 238. If you have not already downloaded your copy of the Self Love Lessons, please do so. It's a gift from my heart to yours, and you can get it at www.queeniebrown.com. Go ahead and download your copy, and then when you're done, I invite you to join us in the Mother Love community where we are having an honest conversation about womanhood, motherhood, spirituality, and living in our power. So, again, we are on page 238. I invite you to join me. And let's talk about creating a new belief. So, as I share this story, as I was reading it, I want you to make sure that when you hear me talk about my dream, I want you to think about how you might language the confession around your own. So, this is simply an example for you to follow, but I want to invite you to do this very same thing. Write this out for yourself. Share it with me and the rest of the group inside the Mother Love community, and let's hear how God plans to manifest your dream on the inside of you. Okay. All right. So let's say you're trying to create a new belief about yourself. I'll use myself as an example. Embracing the concept of being an author and a speaker took some getting used to, especially when I realized that my purpose was actually a ministry. So I literally had to speak to myself in order to believe the call that God had given me. The seed I began to plant was my new belief about who I am. I told myself, I am an internationally renowned author and speaker. I have a worldwide ministry that reaches and teaches millions of people every day, especially women. People love to hear me speak and read my books. I'm highly sought after and handsomely paid to share my wisdom and expertise. Once the seed has been planted into my ears, eyes, and spoken out of my mouth, I must become committed to farming that seed throughout the entire process of harvest. And likewise, so should you. In order to grow a natural seed, you must fertilize the seed, water it, remove any insects, remove any weeds, and consistently tend to it by pruning and thinning. You must also be there to watch over it and protect it from anything that would affect its vibrant growth and its multiplied harvest. Think about a watermelon. It takes only one watermelon seed to produce a watermelon, right? But within that one watermelon are hundreds of new seeds that can each be planted to produce an exponentially greater harvest from the original one seed. It's amazing how much only one seed can produce. What a system, right? So let's get to planting, watering, and fertilizing the seed. Excuse me. We we water the seed by managing the thoughts we think and the words we say as it relates to our seed. What should I think about regarding the seed I've planted about being a successful author, speaker, and minister? Well, I use my imagination to lock my new belief into my mind. I imagine women from all over the world being impacted by the message of self love and the love of God. I visualize myself standing on stage in front of large crowds. I imagine them listening intently, laughing at my jokes, taking notes, standing in line waiting to speak to me after my speech. I see them showing up to book signings, crowding around my resource table to purchase anything and everything that I have to offer. After all, I was chosen, called, prepared, and equipped to do just that. I picture myself reading the letters they've written to me, sharing how their lives have changed as a result of the message of love that I have been called to share. I imagine the word of mouth spreading through social networks like a buzz and daytime talk shows calling me for interviews. I imagine being on a tour of colleges across the country. I imagine churches and women's organizations clamoring to get me to add them to my calendar. I imagine magazine spreads featuring the movement of love. I imagine doing radio shows from home in my robe and slippers. But most of all, I imagine our members becoming a powerful force of faithful, purposeful women of God, unleashed onto the world, living and teaching self love to everyone we come into contact with. These are the images I plant within myself in order to water and fertilize the seed I plan to harvest, the very seed that God planted in me on my silent weekend in the year 2000. After you plant the seed, trust the process. You cannot keep checking on it. Well, first of all, I want to go back. The same way I outlined what I'm going to picture in my mind, I want to invite you to do that same thing. Make sure you take the time to do that, okay? And then share it inside the Mother Love community. After you plant the seed, trust the process. You can't keep checking on it. You got to let go and let God. Think about it. If I planted a seed in my actual garden and every day I shoved my hands into the dirt and pulled the seed out to see if it had begun to grow, what do you think would happen? Yes, you're right. It would never produce fruit. Once the seed is in the ground, your job is to water it. You've done your part in the planting. Now it's time for you to keep the seed. When Adam was in the Garden of Eden, God charged him with the task of guarding and keeping it. God charged him with the task of guarding and keeping it. That meant it was his responsibility to ensure that the harvest from the garden was fruitful. So what must we do? In spiritual farming, in order to keep the seed, we must ensure that insects, weeds, and other critters don't get in the way of the harvest. How do I deal with the insects? Well, insects feed on the seedlings and prevent their growth. I liken the insects to people who challenge my ability to manifest the harvest I've been planting. For example, there have been people in my life who've questioned me by saying things like, "What makes you think you're qualified to write a book?" Or, "Don't you need more credentials to speak as the authority on this subject?" What they're really saying is they don't believe they could do it. So what makes me think I could? What what they didn't take into account is that I'm just doing what I've been called to do. The rest is truly up to God. We'll all get to see how it pans out together, right? So removing those insects which try to distract my focus and stunt my growth looks like me going to God and asking for the strength and confidence to continue on the path that he has set before me. It also requires that I stay obedient. It's a good thing that I only serve one God, right? What about the weeds? Now, the weeds are a different story. Weeds grow alongside the seed. They surround both the roots and the blade, and then the weeds literally choke the life out of the seed before it can develop into a harvest. Weeds also grow very quickly and often overgrow the seed. Then the weeds deplete the ground of the nutrients needed by the seed. Weeds are sometimes already within the ground or heart where the seed was planted. An example of a weed is a long-standing negative belief about yourself. As a young girl, I loved to write. This is not, well, first of all, this is not a pity party, trust me. These are just some of my weeds. So I'm going to share some of my weeds with you. As a young girl, I loved to write. I wrote poetry, songs, short stories, and I found writing to be an effortless gift. I was most well known for writing go to hell letters to hurt people who had hurt my feelings, especially when I didn't feel safe enough to confront them face to face. I think I took more pleasure in that than I should have, but I digress. Oh my goodness, those letters. All right. Later in life, I was told by a loved one that I was not a finisher. I had never heard this before, and honestly, it shook me because there were so many things I had done and finished quite well. But still, part of me wanted to believe this was my truth. Why would anyone say that about me if it weren't true, right? Wrong. In addition to that, some friends and even family members would often tell me that I was just too deep. They would make up reasons why they didn't want to continue a telephone conversation with me because they just didn't feel like going there, and it would often hurt my feelings. Back then, I rationalized it by saying maybe I just need to talk about shopping or something on TV. Then maybe folks wouldn't mind talking to me. I believed that something about me needed to change in order to have close friendships. In any case, those two statements, I'm not a finisher and I'm way too deep, made me question a natural gift that God had given me. Those are weeds. The very gift He had nurtured throughout my youth. Later in life, I learned that the statement about me not being a finisher was actually that person projecting their own personality issues and perceptions of inability onto me. Finishing wasn't my issue at all. This book in your hand is proof that I am a finisher. I also learned that I'm supposed to be deep. I was created that way. How else could I digest and communicate all of this to you? So I had to learn to identify and then confront the beliefs or weeds that others had tried to plant in me. In confronting them, I realized that those seeds were, in fact, weeds that needed to be uprooted and replaced with the truth about me. My new seeds are I always finish and I am deep. There's an audience for my message. That audience does not include everyone, and that's okay. Does that mean that there are no more weeds? Maybe, maybe not. But it does mean that I know what to do when one springs up and threatens the seeds of success that I have planted. And now you know what to do as well. All right. So that concludes today's reading of the self love lessons. Um, wow. There was another piece of this that I didn't read, and I'm going to go back to it because I think it's very important. I don't want to. Um, go off of this page without sharing this with you. And it's about seeds, but it's talking about seedless fruits and foods. Seedless foods are not your friend. Seedless watermelons are farmed, pardon me, seedless watermelons are formed from what are called terminator seeds. These seeds have been genetically manufactured to counteract the plan of fruitfulness of the seed. Think about that. It basically makes the watermelon sterile and unable to reproduce. While seedless melons, grapes, and oranges are more practical and make the fruit easier to enjoy, they are not natural, and therefore there is no way to know how the genetic manipulation will affect our bodies long term. This seems minute, but it definitely has long term sterility implications that I won't go into here. Use wisdom. Terminator seeds are designed to stop reproduction. So if you intend to be reproducing, including your cells need to reproduce in order to heal your body. If you plan to reproduce, don't take in terminator seeds. Don't take in food that was created by seeds that were designed to stop reproduction. So just threw that in there. Seeds. God said that seed time and harvest will not cease as long as the earth remains. And He intends for us to know how that process functions and participate in it to get our harvest. And that includes the harvest of your dream. So thank you again for joining me today. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, follow, do all the stuff. And then join us in the Mother Love community where we are going to get a little bit more meat off this bone and talk a little bit more. I'm going to share a very interesting story with you about sunflower seeds. So come on and join me. All right. God bless you. I'll see you over there. Take good care.